think we're good.
All right, welcome. So I'm going to call this special meeting of Bonnechere Valley Council on Thursday, April 29th, 2021 at 1:02 p.m. Call this meeting to order. Is there any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. So we can move to new and unfinished business. I'm assuming that everybody read Annette's recommendation after her senior leadership team meeting, and you can see the background there and the alternatives to be considered. One of the things, Jack, you weren't on, but we were just discussing what this less expensive fencing looks like. So we've been, Kevin took some photos of Renfrew, but it's hard to really see it. But basically, to me, it looks like page wire or chicken wire with steel posts in the ground. So I'm just going to throw this out there. I was just saying that if the geotubes ever needed to be expanded, this might be an easier way to move the dog park somewhere else or to manipulate it. And certainly, as Annette was saying, like easier to put posts in the ground. And if you hit rock, then you move a foot away. I'm not sure what you guys think. I'm going to open this up for discussion. Yeah, Jack, go ahead.
Well, my opinion is I don't see why we wouldn't go with the recommendation that we have from council and our senior management. I don't want something in the ground that we're going to have to be constantly repairing. It's going to be knocked down. If it's only the so-called light wire, snow is going to bend it, and it's impossible to keep tight unless you run a string across the top of it. So my feeling is either we go with the recommendation from our senior management or it's a no-go. This is, in this time, feeling is, I don't know why we'd want to do something like this when the costs are all inflated because of COVID anyway. Would like, and that what we would recommend, then I think maybe it's time to push it off until the cost might be a little bit more realistic next year. That's my feeling on it. I don't think we should jeopardize the project for something with lesser material than what our senior management is recommending.
Okay. I wondered about Annette, you had sent out a note that the chair of the dog park committee wanted to order this fencing ASAP. I'm assuming that's because somebody has this fencing in stock.
Yes. Oh, I think you froze. Yeah, you'll have to you're going to turn your video off? Because you're
I did.
Okay. I can still see your frozen video. But
okay.
But at least I can hear you now.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm assuming that they want to order this fencing as soon as possible because somebody has it in stock and it's not an inflated price.
Yeah, so whether it may still be an inflated price, but it's a cheaper style of fencing, so it's less than, of course, the quote that Kevin got for the similar fencing that's already there at the plant. But the problem is that it's in high demand, of course, at this time of year. So if they don't place the order today, they're going to lose it. Like they're going to lose it, and it's going to be months before they. Well, maybe not months, but weeks before they can get it again, and they probably won't get it at the price it is now. So you're right. Somebody has it in stock. They've given them a quote, and they've got it ready to go, but they've got to place the order today. That's why we needed to have the special meeting. And I think at the end of the day, that's the issue that we're stuck on. We kind of worked out everything else. And it's like I said, staff is recommending staying with the higher fencing because it's what's there now and because of the ongoing maintenance and having to replace it in future. But like you said, the dog park committee wants to go with the other fencing, and so it's just a matter of how council feels about that. And do you want to go with a cheaper style of fencing, or do you want to go with what's there and what's the best thing for this for the community? So.
Well,
Okay. I have a couple of thoughts, but I'm going to throw this over to Brent and Merv.
I was just going to say, like pertaining to, so my understanding, they want to get the different fences, the different than the recommendation by staff. I agree that the other fence is definitely a better quality and more long term, but I think the whole purpose of, say, adding another park or dog park to building it, is so it's more as a self-sustaining model. So like if we're gonna have a fence, say install a fence, it's gonna be, say, the one in Renfrew, I believe, lasted about 7 years, as you had discussed. So I guess, is it the expectation that we're going to be fixing it or maintaining, or is this through the direction of, say, through Kevin saying, hey, this post needs to get corrected, we need to maintain it, or will our insurance sign off on the fence that they want to install, or are we going to, say, have the dog park committee install this fence with that within 3 years that they're going to fundraise for 3 years and install a more long-term fence consistent with the staff recommendations, especially if the concern is that this fence is going to last. Maybe this is a way, if council wants to, say, have a dog park, this is a way to help their fundraising, as long as their insurance is comfortable with the fence line that they're proposing. But if the concern is long-term, say, maintenance of for township, well, I've always been under the impression that this a dog park committee is the one that's going to be, say, continuously, say, raising funds, fundraising pertaining, helping out hopefully with dog tags, because we can't even maintain our own parks, neither can we afford to maintain our dog park. So I think that's something that's on my end. I would say I'm fine with the fence they're going forward, as long as their insurance is comfortable with it, especially we can't move it. But with the long-term mindset, within say 3 years or 5 years, that we're going to install the proper long-term fencing. If everything's working out, the dog park committee says picking up the feces, we don't have the same issue as, say, Renfrew had in 2020, where they had to shut down their dog park because no one is picking up the feces.
Okay, so Brent sort of stole that out of my brain. I always think it's easier to fundraise when people recognize the value. So I think that if they can build this for 5,000, and in the background they do seem to have a plan to maintain it, which I think is great. But I think once the value is there, it'll be easier for this committee to fundraise to upgrade the fencing, to ensure that, there are receptacles there for dog bags and all the rest of it. I don't know. That's sort of my feeling. I hadn't really given insurance a thought, only because I figure fencing is fencing is fencing. You don't need a 6-foot fence for dogs, but I don't know what Annette thinks about that. Merv, did you have any thoughts?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems that the fine removing them goes either chain link or the fine, as I see it. It's just snapping them off the post and roll it up and away you go. But I don't know. I gather the finer fence, although Empire or Renfrew doesn't agree with it, is probably considerably cheaper.
Yeah, like a fifth of the price. But also, I mean, they've really done an already fantastic job of fundraising. They've got these coupon books. They're doing what their mandate was. And I think by allowing this less expensive fencing as a first step, I think, this is something that we've heard a lot of people want. So, if it's a $5,000 venture and they're willing to maintain it, and I would love to see how many people actually end up using it and then in turn would donate towards it.
Yeah, I see. It doesn't take very much to keep a dog in there, as long as as Jack said, the snow and whatnot doesn't knock it down. But
Kevin, thoughts?
worth a try. I think I'd give it a try.
I know, I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's hard to say. You want to make sure you do it right the first time. But like, the dollar value is extremely high to do it the proper way. The end of the day, like, it's up to us to make the call, like, moving forward. If a dog park's going to be down the road, then, like, I don't think the issue is going to go away. Let's put it that way. It's a tough call. And if they like, if they keep up to their end, that's awesome. But what happens if the main person who is spearheading this loses interest over a couple of years? Then what? Who's to fall back on? It's probably back on our plate. So anyways, I'm here looking for direction, and whatever at the end of this meeting we come up with, we gotta go by, I guess.
But Kevin, to your point, if there was a lack of committee members and a lack of interest in maintaining it by that committee, I mean, this is going to have to be like a memorandum of understanding between the township and the committee. And if that ultimately happened, then it's a $5,000 investment that can be removed, not a $25,000 investment. And again, if we ever had to expand those geotubes, if the province mandates that we can't spread septage on farm or on fields, then again, is it as simple as taking the stakes out of the ground, rolling up the fence, and moving it to a better location? I mean, obviously, I don't see the province legislating this after how many years has it been, Merv? 14 years?
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be done by 2009. That's why we built it.
Exactly.
And from what I see it, they're just kicking the ball around. The Ministry of Environment says that's not our problem. It's the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs says, no, it's an environmental problem. It's your problem. And neither one wants to make a decision. That's the way I see it.
Exactly. And I just before the meeting, guys, just asked Annette to modify her recommendation, just because it's not, I don't want anybody to think that it's our sewage system, because it's not. It's not the expansion of water and sewer. It's the expansion of the geotubes. So I don't know, that to me, I think this is a solution, to what could have been a very expensive venture. I understand that the aesthetics of it are not going to be as nice as chain link, obviously. But I think that, this committee is working really hard to make this happen. And when I see that, it gets me excited. Merv, hang on just a sec. I think Brent, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think one of the biggest concerns is that is the ongoing maintenance, but the whole point of, say, a dog park committee or the dog park, and as I said, I'm not a big dog park guy, but I understand the merits of the volunteers. So when it comes down to it, I think that as long as they live up to the end of the bargain, look at no different than like a triple net lease, in the sense that so we're agreeing to say allow to put a dog park there. We're going to provide the insurance, and really we'll give dog bag, or not dog bags, but allow them to bring the dog poop to the dump at no cost. But besides that, it's up to them to maintain the standards that we need for insurance and us as a municipal property. So be it a piece breaks, under Kevin's direction, he can notify the group, or we have to fix it, but it's not coming out of the township budget is the best way to put it. And if the commitment isn't maintained over a month or a year or 6 months, then all that's going to happen is you pull it out of the ground and that's it. Like, it's not Like the thing is, this is, in my opinion, never meant, you don't want to be like a Renfrew where now you have to redo your fence after it's already maintained. Well, that's the purpose of having a volunteer group do that on your behalf, because it's a benefit for people within the town. So that's all I'm saying, is that I look at it as almost like a triple net lease. I would reference it as, is that we're providing the land. And that's really about it. Besides that, it's up to them to maintain it, and it has to be maintained up to the standards that we set.
Well, and I think, you know, we could consider this almost a pilot project, and you certainly wouldn't want to have a $25,000 pilot project, right? If it works, that's great, and they can continue to fundraise. And if it doesn't work, well, that's where a memorandum of understanding has to come into play between the township and the dog park committee. And I'm assuming that the gets are kind of spearheading all of this. And between the two of them, I think that they can meet with Annette and come up with, you know, rules of engagement. But I think that that's absolutely necessary. It does sound to me like Annette's done a lot of work on this and has met with the dog park committee subsequent to our meeting a couple of weeks ago. I don't know, guys. I think this is a really easy way to begin this process and see if it works. If it works, that's great. If it doesn't, it's 5,000, not 25,000. Merv and then Jack.
I just had a brainwave. You use the cheap fencing that they're proposing, and you run one single strand of aluminum to weave it in through the top, fastening to the post to give it extra support for snow support and keep us sitting upright.
Yeah. Jack.
Just want to weave it through the top and fasten to the post and give it that extra support between posts.
Yeah. Jack.
So if we go forward with this lower grade offense, what sort of time frame are they doing to upgrade to the proper fencing? If not, in 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, whatever Renfrew has, then we'll have that whole thing on our plate. They'll just walk away from it and say, okay, we don't need it anymore. And then we'll be stuck with people. Some people will want the dog run, and then we'll have to, if we're backing away from what our senior management recommends, we should be backing away with some sort of time frame for them to put in what senior management wants. This open-ended, oh, well, we'll try it and see how it works, it doesn't fly with me. If the senior management wants some sort of fence, that's the fence we should be working our way towards. So if we want to give them a break going forward to start, when's the time frame when they're going to put the proper fencing in? That's the question I have. Because if not, you're going to be stuck with a white elephant that we're going to have to repair, same as what Renfrew's doing. So.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, that's the whole point of absolutely everything I think I've heard today, is that we aren't going to be maintaining this, Jack. So that's why they came up with the coupon book, or they're going to help out with dog tags, or they're going to help out with more signage from businesses to maintain. So if there is any issues, if there is any problems with the fencing, then they're the ones covering it. And Kevin obviously is the one that's overseeing it. So if Kevin notices a problem that we would have to fix as a municipality, then we give it to the direction of the dog park committee to maintain. But end of the day, I don't agree. I agree that maybe we should have a long-term plan, but I don't know what that is. And I think that could be discussed after, seeing how this goes, seeing how it goes after 1 or 2 years and the conversation goes. So you can we'll allow this agreement or this memorandum to put in place for 2 years. And that gives adequate time to fundraise when you have something, as long as it's good with their insurance. Then I think that's the way to step forward, because it's tough to raise money it's tough to raise money in general. But I think that's how I look at it, is this: if this is a solution we can move forward, and then we still stick with what staff recommendation is, however long term. So be it 2 years, 5 years, but I think we can have that conversation after it's done, it's built, and because it's an ongoing agreement.
Yeah, I was Thanks, Annette. Annette, do you want to email that to me? Oh, I'm freezing up again.
I'll get,
I was
I'll
going-
get, I'll
I
get.
think
Sandra
Brent
to-
just, okay, I think Brent just said 2 years. I was thinking 3 years because if we're counting, like, this would be year 1. And if year 2 is 2022, that's, let's give them the opportunity to make this work. And not hamstring them. So Annette, you don't want me then? Okay, so it sounds like, if I call for a vote, it sounds like us are in favor of this.
So-
But if we could put a timeline on the memorandum of understanding, I think that would be probably the best way to go.
Okay,
Okay, so you don't, I'm not
I'm
doing
just-
the resolution you sent me then.
no, I'm just rewording it. Just-
Okay, sounds good.
If you can give me 2 minutes, I'll reword it and then I can read it if you want. If you want.
Absolutely,
Okay.
that's perfect. I'm just gonna grab a glass of water. I'll be right back. I've got dry mouth from taking allergy meds. We have this beautiful forsythia bush growing just on one side of our deck, but it's causing havoc with my sinuses.
So what is the term that we wanted? Did you say 3 years, 4 years? What was the term? 5 years? Did,
I think 3 is reasonable. Brent, Merv, Jack, what do you think?
I think 3 is reasonable.
I just wouldn't want, yeah, I don't want to hamstring them with 2, but I think 5 could be, I don't know.
okay, so what I've got is that council approve the development of a dog park at the location behind the sewage plant, so long as the following conditions are met. 1, dog park committee to supply and install fencing and gates in a manner to be approved by the manager of recreation. So it's their type of fencing, their type of gates, but it's going to be, like, Kevin still has to, like, if they put it so it's not working properly, like it's tilted or it needs more posts, that will have to be approved by Kevin. Does that sound okay to you, Kevin?
Yeah, that's, I get, yeah, for sure. I can do that, oversee it.
Okay. Number 2, township to supply location and prepare the grounds by removing dead trees, scraping the ground, and placing pickets around the location of the proposed dog park. Number 3, dog park committee to supply volunteers to maintain the grounds in winter and summer, as well as supply signage to be pre-approved by the township before installation and a solar-powered light if required. Number 4, township to maintain the parking lot and supply a sand salt pail in the winter for volunteers and purchase liability insurance for the dog park. Number 5, this approval will expire on December 31st, 2024. I could do 2025 because that's almost, I guess that's not quite 3.
Yeah, go 2025.
2025.
That's sort of for, yeah.
Okay, this approval will expire on December 31st, 2025, and further that staff are directed to develop a letter of understanding to incorporate the above terms. Do you want me to read it again?
No, well, I don't know. Does council want Annette to read it again? I got the gist. It's very similar to what you sent me. It's just, it's got a little more meat to it.
Yeah,
Okay, so I will ask for a mover and seconder on that resolution. Moved
Yep.
by Brent, seconded by Merv. Okay, further discussion. Yes, Jack, go ahead.
So where in there is it, as if the park, say for example, if you're going with this lighter fencing that I haven't seen yet, but I would assume this is fencing that maybe a dog can climb over in time if the posts get slack, because I would assume they're not concreting the posts in. I haven't seen this fence, but I'm assuming that's what it is. So this fencing is going to have to be required every spring, probably to be retightened and reset. Who's going to do this, and who's going to be the responsible person to make sure it gets done? This is not fair to just strap it on Kevin and have him responsible for it. This is the whole purpose in putting in a chain link fence with concrete. The fence does not expand or stretch.
Well,
So I just think it's the resolution does not say they're responsible for maintaining it, replacing it, tightening it up. That all has to be spelled out as far as I'm concerned before I'm in agreement with this.
It does, they have to maintain it.
Yeah, but
I can add to where it says dog park committee to supply volunteers to maintain the grounds in winter and summer. I could put to maintain the grounds and fence. Is that what you want me to add
Fencing.
that to
yeah,
it? And fencing?
Sure. I sort of took the term maintain as you will maintain the entire thing, but anyway, yeah, we can.
Well,
let me
Annette,
say the fence is put in and that's the way it is. It degrades over time.
well, I
And that's
wouldn't,
the type of fence what's going to do. If you put in, I'm assuming this goes in with steel pickets and is wired to it. Is that what this is, Kevin?
Yeah,
That's right.
it's
Yeah.
similar to the Renfrew Dog Park. Sorry.
Yeah, so steel pickets will sag with the winter and the snow, and the fence is gonna get like this. The dogs are gonna jump up against it and it's gonna be back and forth. So, but anyways, I think we're just we're putting ourselves into a lot of maintenance here and a lot of work for Kevin, but that's my point on it.
But Jack, that's exactly why we have to have a memorandum of understanding with the dog park committee. And again, I will use the term, this is a pilot project. And if it doesn't work, then we will have to revisit it. I
Well-
mean, we've never done anything like this before. They have found a solution to get themselves started. And I applaud that. I applaud the fact that, this committee, they really want this done sooner rather than later. Brent, did you have your hand up?
well, I was just gonna say, I probably for the part of the agreement for the grounds, I think you'd be better off instead of saying grounds and fencing would just be to define exactly what grounds would entail, rather than put grounds and fencing, just because then we'd have to put also in supports, ties, everything. So I think the whole point of this is that Kevin's role is just to make sure that, okay, so when he drives by or checks, it's not expected to do anything physical. It's to do with that, to have the committee or the group make sure that it is fixed every year. I don't see it being a very onerous task, no different than a playground inspection, but Kevin provides the playground inspection. Neither is that expected here. It's a volunteer driven initiative. So if say if there is issues, then it's expected the dog park committee maintains it. So I don't see it being an onerous task long term, especially if they're the ones maintaining the dog poop. They're the ones maintaining the fence, and under the guise that Kevin is the one that's overseeing, making sure the standards are good. No different. He inspects all the parks and everything continuously anyways. So really when I look at it, we aren't taking on the burden of maintaining the fence, because if that is the case, then there will be no dog park. We'll pull up the fence and it's a breach of the agreement. And that's exactly that's what I'm in favor of. Like, you can't just say build a 5,000 fence and then just, oh, now it's a township asset. That's not how it works. How it works is that, well, if there's a fence and if the agreement, no one's maintaining it, Kevin's having to go there with the summer students and pick up the dog poop. Well, there won't be a dog park anymore. So that's how I understand it. That's what I support. So that's all I wanted to state.
Thank you. I do think that the people that want this are certainly responsible and know their role in keeping this properly maintained. But I think, yeah, a memorandum of understanding will have to be drawn up for exactly those reasons. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as it sits in front of us?
So I'll leave it as it was, but I will bring forward a letter of understanding for council to look at before we, like, that is part of the resolution we just read, and I'll include the fencing and what includes the grounds, and, you know, you have to comply with an annual inspection, all that kind of stuff. I'll get a little bit more into detail with that and leave the resolution as it was read. Does that work with everybody?
Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah, I think the letter of understanding will have a little more meat on the bones. I mean, this is just council agreeing to allowing them to erect fence on our land and do a little in kind. But outside of that, I think that, oh, sorry guys, I think outside of that, between you and Kevin and Heather Park Wheeler, I think that you guys can come up with an appropriate agreement with the dog park committee.
Okay, and
So
doing approval and
sorry.
approval and inspection, and if they don't comply with the memorandum of understanding and Kevin does an inspection or he doesn't approve something, then it just, it's approved on those conditions. So then the approval dies.
Right.
Okay.
And I see Merv is nodding and Brent is nodding, so that's good. Yes, Kevin.
Just, I was over there this morning with Daryl and we did some measuring. Just to give you an idea, approximation, it's about 42 feet wide and about 150 feet long, approximation. That's give or take a little bit, but that's roughly. So just to let you know, that's kind of what the size we're going is. We're going to try to keep it as square as possible, but just keep it easy. And that's kind of what we're looking at.
I don't have my calculator, but that's about a half an acre, wouldn't it be?
Once again, for council, I am spatially challenged. So I'm trying to put it in context of my house, you know, where you know that your house is 30 feet long by, 30 feet wide. That's what I'm trying to do here. But it sounds like it's a good amount of space.
How big did you say, Kevin? 150 feet?
150 feet long and 42 feet wide approximately.
Oh, you're
Okay.
talking about 6,300 square feet.
Yeah.
6,300, an acre is 4,400,
Yeah.
so it's about a quarter of an acre. Not even a quarter, an eighth.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on the resolution as it sits before us? And I will call for the vote. All in favor? All right, that carries. I have a resolution dated this 29th day of April 2021, that bylaw 2021-025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be read a first time, be deemed read a second time, be deemed read a third time and passed. Can I get a mover and seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, please? Moved by Merv, second by Brent. All in favor? Thank you, council. And everybody's favorite resolution dated this 29th day of April 2021, that the special council meeting be adjourned at 1:37 p.m. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Nobody wants to adjourn? Moved by Brent, seconded by Merv. All in favor? We are adjourned. Annette, I assume that you will contact the chair of the dog park committee this afternoon so that they can get this ball rolling.